do you think about the recent debt ceiling situation?
I usually relate it to like watching Korean or Chinese drama. Okay, because I've seen this happening all the time. It's just a lot of hoo-ha, but in the end, it will get resolved. That's my take for it. From the US history, the debt ceiling has been risen 74 times without fail, because the impact on not passing through the debt ceiling is too huge for America to take. So that's why we know that it will definitely be passed. It's just that the oppositions, typically depending on which is the ruling party over the years, right? Where they usually need to give a hard time, because they should not let it pass easily. Because what is the purpose of a debt ceiling? Right? Currently, the debt ceiling is at $31.4 trillion. Why is there a debt ceiling? Right? Just like our own spending budget. Right? What if we ourselves don't have a spending budget? What will happen? We'll be spending more than we can earn, right? Yeah. So it's a very simple thing, right? So America should not spend more than they can earn. But because US have the luxury of printing money, right? Because they are the reserve currency, they have a Federal Reserve, which can always print more money and lend it to the government to spend, right? So it's like you have an unlimited supply of money, but this will cause inflation, right? Where the more money you print, it's like an illusion that people have more money, then they will spend more money, it will cause inflation. So they should not continue to do that. And that is the debt ceiling is to enforce what we call a fiscal discipline, right? Discipline in spending money based on what you can afford. If the oppositions agree to let them pass through every time when they don't have enough money, and just to increase it and borrow money from the Fed, then they won't not do the right thing, right? They will not cut any spending, right? They will be just spending unnecessarily. Because of that, every time they hit the debt ceiling, there will be what we call this drama of negotiation, where on purpose they will not want to make it easy. And what's the process that need to go through is they have to negotiate what budget to cut. Right? Because every president will have their own so-called favorite projects, right? Because they want to make sure, for example, for Biden, like he want to have like the green initiative, he want to have the Medicare, because they are more socially conscious, and he doesn't want to cut anything, including like students, loan repayment, and so on. Whereas the Republican has other priorities, right? So they do not want to raise taxes as well. Yeah, in general, because that makes them unpopular, right? So it's about all this negotiation and where the balance is. What happened this year is the beginning of the year, they already reached the debt ceiling, okay? But Biden didn't want to cut anything, right? That's why the Republican is not happy. And he wait until very late, until it's really risky to the extent, what Janet Yellen said from the Treasury, that they won't be able to pay their bills on 1st of June, right? So that creates the pressure. And this has been a tactic used by many years, where when you have more time, right, it's difficult to get a deal. When you have less time, then easier to pressure to get a deal, because you don't have enough time, right? Yeah, you must give in a way, right? So we see this happening many times. And of course, what happened to the stock market is because a lot of people don't understand this. Right, they may let it be affected, right? Or all these headlines, especially for beginners, see the headlines about debt ceiling reached, then they worry, America, will they go bankrupt, right? Yeah, too much fear, then it causes some volatility in the market. But the seasoned hedge funds, right, they can take advantage of it. I remember in one of the year 2011, that was during Obama's time. Right, he won the election in 2008. Right, so on the third year, already hit the debt ceiling because they print too much money for the US financial crisis in the late 2007. 2008 is when they started to have a lot of crisis. Then 2009 March, they approved a stimulus, $700 billion. Right, so it's very easy to hit the debt ceiling at that time. But the Republican doesn't want to give in. Right, so towards end of the year, it was almost a default where they have to shut down the government. Okay, just imagine, right, the civil servant cannot get their pay because government run out of money. How impactful is that? Right? I mean, it's a very big impact. And it's also not good for the confidence to the US government. So there was a shutdown, I can't remember, it's like 1 or 2 weeks. But then they have to, by hook or by crook, they have to resolve it. Right? Then by January, they reach a deal and the market went up. So if you know this has been a repeating pattern, can you take advantage of it, right? So the best way to take advantage of it is using options, right? Because you still want to manage, right? To me, nothing is impossible, right? There's still a probability, although it's a very slim chance, okay, quite like a less than 5% chance, or even 1%, okay, the probability of a default, okay? But it's just sooner or later they must agree. But that damage could be there during the period, right? It can cause the market to go down a lot because of that. But eventually they have reached the agreement, then it will recover. So the best way to take advantage of it is use options. So one of the day I was buying January options and expecting them to reach a deal, right? Yeah, I have a partially January, partially February options. I mean, call options means you have a limited risk if you're wrong, but if they have a resolution, the market will go up. right? Then you can have the upside. Yeah, so that's one way to trade it. And this round we actually have a very good opportunity because so happen there's a AI craze, I call it. Okay, Nvidia has a superb earnings, right, which gave confidence, and a lot of tech stock rally, right? That actually supersede the debt ceiling concern. Yeah, so a lot of the stocks continue to go up despite the debt ceiling. So, but a lot of people are fearful of debt ceiling. They don't dare to go in, so they actually miss the boat. Yeah. Yeah, fortunately, because I know this drama for a long time, having traded for 30 years, so I know how to take advantage of it, right? Having the confidence. We actually cover this in our course called Advanced Course called Macro Insights, right? So way back in the 2019 is when we conducted the first course. Yeah, so and we actually covered quite a lot of depth on the debt ceiling to build up student confidence, right? So those who have taken a course, they know this is the regular drama, so called. And is in fact is one of the great opportunity to make money. Yeah, knowing that it will be resolved. Okay, there's a few possibilities. One is they will extend the time if they cannot make it, and that's more like a guarantee, okay, because they cannot allow another default, which has happened before. Okay, whoever caused the default of not giving in will not look good for the next election, and that's one of the reasons why Republican, although they want to give a hard time to Democrat, they also do not want to make the the people who's going to vote for them, right, lose faith in them, yeah, on causing the government to fall. Yeah. And of course, the civil servant themselves not being paid, right, will not like them. Yeah. So that's the reason why I know is by hook or by crook, they have to approve. It's just that they may extend it. Yeah. And the moment they extend it, usually they know that, it will help the market recover. But we also need to be cautious. Right? Well, this year actually is milder than, what I've seen in the past. Yeah. Mainly because there's the market is not at a high side. When the market is at a high, it will cause more correction. But the market is in the early stage of recovery, and we have the positive tech stocks earnings and forecast. Yeah, so people, I would say the big funds are coming in to take advantage of it. Yeah, the temporary down for 2 weeks because of all the hoo-ha. Yeah, in fact, after the initial positive resolution where they said they are coming to an agreement, yeah, the market, there's a lot of profit taking. Yeah, so don't trade based on the news. Okay, sometimes it's bad news. The big funds actually coming in to buy for this. Yeah, and now when there's a more resolution, because the market gap up before the market opened, when there's this news over the weekend that they are about to reach a deal, there was actually sell-off. The big funds operate this way, right? So we cannot just look at the news. Oh, positive news about to resolve, then we come and buy. That's where they are very happy because they are selling. Yeah. So if you know this pattern, can you take advantage of it for the next round of the debt ceiling drama?